Right now on the National Weather Desk, it's Earth Day, why this year's focus is on microplastics.
Plastics are so dangerous because they don't break down very easily.
And what you can do to help keep America beautiful.
Why in 2024 is litter still an issue?
Seasonal affective disorder. It's not just for winter anymore.
Not a lot of people know about it, and not a lot of people know how to help.
And why do azalea bushes bloom at different times in the spring?
On the north side, they get less sun.
Plus, meet Baltimore's trash-eating robot, known as Mr. Trash Wheel.
We picked up a guitar, one time a python snake.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Steve Rudin from WJLA in Washington, D.C. Today is Earth Day. 190 nations have recognized it now, which dates way back to 1970. This year, a special theme has been set for the annual event. Meteorologist Christina Ernie talks about this year's focus, the dangers of microplastics.
This year's Earth Day is focused on planet versus plastic. So organizers of Earth Day are calling for a 60% reduction in plastic production, so cutting it off from the source. Plastics are so dangerous because they don't break down very easily. Plastics only break down into smaller pieces known as microplastics, and an adult is estimated to consume the equivalent of one credit card of plastic each week. It takes a supermarket bag 20 years to break down into those microplastics. It takes a plastic water bottle 450 years and a diaper 500 years. So scientists have identified some fungi that can break down some types of plastic, but it's a slow process and way slower than how fast we create it.
On the calendar, summer doesn't start until June 20th. However, the latest outlook from NOAA indicates most of the country could start feeling the heat as early as next month. NOAA's temperature outlook for May, June, and July calls for chances of above average temperatures across the mainland United States. The best chance for high heat are in the Northeast, Southwest, South Florida, and Washington State. What's missing on the map? You don't see any black or blue. That means no regions are expected to see below average temperatures. A new threshold for heat advisories is coming this year across the panhandles of eastern Texas and Oklahoma. So what does that mean? Meteorologist Corbin Vogus explains.
There's going to be some new changes coming to the heat advisories and excessive heat warnings for a portion of the panhandles running into this year. This is going to take effect May 1st, so haven't gotten there just yet. But the old criteria in those red shaded counties you see on the eastern side of the panhandles, a heat advisory used to be 110 degrees. We needed to get to 115 in order to see that excessive heat warning. The National Weather Service in Amarillo, Lubbock, and in Norman have all collaborated together. They're actually going to reduce that to 105 for an advisory and 110 for the excessive heat warning. Big part to that is once we get to 105 degrees, that's when your risk for heat-related illnesses does increase significantly. Heat is the #1 leading cause for weather-related fatalities in the U.S., so hopefully that'll cut down on some of the fatalities we have.
It's not just heat alerts that will be updated. The Michigan Department of Environment is changing the way they issue air quality alerts. This comes in the wake of last summer's Canadian wildfires. Meteorologist Trevor Robolo takes a look at the changes.
The summer of 2023 was a record year for the amount of acres burned in Canada's mass wildfires. The smoke from these wildfires impacted Michigan with hazy days and air quality alerts.
Typically, when we issue an alert and advisory, in the past, it was either called a Clean Air Action Day or an Air Quality Action Day.
While the method that determines when EGLE will issue these alerts will remain mostly the same, the actual alerts will be divided into two different tiers.
An advisory would just be to advise people that there's poor air quality. It would just be for the USG range. And basically, the USG range is basically just for those with asthma, respiratory illnesses, who are particularly more sensitive to poor air quality, hence unhealthy for sensitive groups, the threshold or category name. Whereas as you get to the unhealthy, very unhealthy, or worse range, everyone is brought in. It's a more broad, it's a larger population of people that are going to be influenced and affected by that poor air quality. So that's why we wanted to highlight that by creating the air quality alert.
Smoke from fires can have negative health problems on anyone, but especially the elderly and those with respiratory issues. And so Eagle and the Department of Health and Safety are urging everyone to be aware of air quality as we inch towards summer.
We've all heard of seasonal affective disorder, sometimes called SAD. For most, it's linked to winter days with fewer hours of daylight. But for some, the spring and summer months can also be a challenging time of year. Meteorologist Will Handy has more.
I have no energy. I don't sleep very well.
For Keith Rodwell, as temperatures climb, his depression begins to creep in.
My birthday's in the summer. You'd think I'd be like, oh, yay, my birthday's coming up, and usually I am. But there's also the fact that I don't deal with heat well.
Rodwell avoids being outside for long when the temperatures are above 70 degrees. Even just a couple days of yard work last summer sent him into a spiral.
I didn't think I had any worth. I didn't think my wife should be with me anymore. I was just a drag on her.
With summertime seasonal affective disorder, the onset is spring and summer as the days get a little bit longer.
Mark St. Martin teaches counseling psychology at Western Michigan University. He says because summer SAD is so uncommon, people don't always respond well.
It can be difficult for individuals with summertime onset SAD because not a lot of people know about it and not a lot of people know how to help. They think it's summertime, you should feel happy, you should get outside, but that's not the case for individuals who suffer from this particular disorder.
It's estimated about 4 to 6% of Americans struggle with seasonal affective disorder. Of those, St. Martin says only about 10% have the warm season version.
Try to maintain some sort of schedule or get some sort of schedule set up. That can be helpful.
And if you or a loved one is struggling, don't dismiss it.
It can be really hard for individuals to disclose that they're suffering with this because so many other people are so happy and want to do a lot of different things during the summer.
If your allergies are bad right now, you're not the only one suffering. You can probably blame tree pollen. Theron Zahn explains.
If your allergies are bothering you right now, you can probably blame tree pollen. Between March and June, that's when tree pollen is the highest in most parts of the country. It is summertime when grass pollen is the highest. So if you're having trouble right now with your allergies, you have a couple more months to tough it out before trees relent.
And speaking of plants and pollen, azaleas are in full bloom in parts of Arkansas, but as meteorologist Barry Brandt explains, they don't all come out at the same time.
Many azaleas bloom in early April in Arkansas and the rest of the Mid-South. The earliest blossoms occur where azaleas get full sun, but these beautiful blossoms are on the north side of a Little Rock home. On the north side, they get less sun, and the ground is cooler for longer. They're sure showing off now.
This time of year, it's not just trees and flowers showing their beauty. Spring storms can be intense, but sometimes they leave behind beautiful scenes like a double rainbow. How does this happen? Meteorologist Teresa Carter explains.
Rainbows are very pretty, but it is really cool when we see a double rainbow. So what makes a double rainbow? Sometimes you can see another fainter secondary rainbow above the primary rainbow. The primary rainbow is caused from one reflection inside the water droplet. The second rainbow is caused by a second reflection inside the droplet. And this reflected light exits the drop at a different angle, 50 degrees instead of 42 degrees for the red primary bow. This is why the second rainbow appears above the primary rainbow. And a fun fact is that it will have the order of the colors reversed with red on the bottom and violet on the top.
Now let's check to see weather as well as Earth Day events across the country today. Baltimore is offering free rides on public transportation, and there's a neighborhood cleanup featuring Baltimore Raven players. It will be sunny and dry in the Charm City with highs in the middle 60s. Next, we head to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, in the Great Smoky Mountains. Volunteers will be cleaning up West Prong River near the Little Pigeon River. Plan for sunny skies and highs of 60 degrees. Louisville, Kentucky is hosting a series of neighborhood cleanups on this Earth Day. After a cold start this morning with a frost advisory, the rest of the day looks fantastic with plenty of sunshine and highs in the middle 60s. And just outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota, the annual Unite for Earth Day event where Girl and Boy Scouts come together for education and conservation. A few showers will dot radar later on this afternoon with highs in the middle 60s. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, find out why 500,000 salmon were dumped into a California river. Plus, we take a deep dive to learn more about the history of Earth Day.
I'm meteorologist Christian Bridges. Here's a look at your forecast for the Northeast. Overall, a cool but still fairly nice day in store for our Monday. In the 60s across New York State, upper 60s at Syracuse and Albany, lower 60s in New York City, and overall along the coastline it is a little cooler. Low 60s in Boston, 50s as you head northwards into Maine. Clear skies though all across the region for Monday. Looks like that sticks around onto Tuesday. Next rain chance is on Wednesday.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Your Monday starts out pretty chilly here. Clouds have moved out, but we'll have some frosty conditions around, but that'll disappear as we move in the afternoon. We'll just see some scattered clouds. No rainfall to come our way on Monday or again on Tuesday. We're likely not going to see any major rain chances until later this week. Now, here's Future Scan. Today's highs still around the low 60s after that chilly start, but we'll see temperatures staying on the fairly cool side, decent as we move into Tuesday, with highs in the 70s.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs for the day. We're looking at 68 degrees in Nashville, 67 Birmingham, 64 Raleigh, Jacksonville about 70 degrees, getting down in towards Florida, looking at 87 West Palm. Cold front still making its way down through southern Florida, so it looks like lots of sunshine over the southeast. There may be some showers and thunderstorms across parts of Miami. That's the only area probably getting rain, but it looks like we'll hold on to nice dry conditions through the next several days with comfortable temperatures.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
When you think of weather in Seattle and the Pacific Northwest, rain comes to mind. But this year has seen very little rain, and it's also been a rather dry winter. The problem is so big, many states have declared a drought emergency. Meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell has more.
The Emerald City, Seattle, known and very famous for our rain about 9 months out of the year. But for the last couple of months, we've been running dry. You can see that for the year since the beginning of January. We're already about 3 inches behind our normal. And just for the month of April alone, and this is significant, we're lacking in the April showers department, and we're 1.5 inches plus behind where we're supposed to be this deep into the month of April. So our spring season running a little bit rain-free around here in Seattle and Tacoma. As such, the state of Washington just announced an upcoming drought emergency, meaning there's a lot of concern about the lack of available water as we head deeper into spring and especially into the summer season. As we know, the snowpack around here was pretty grim. We only maxed out at about 50 to 75% of normal, and that's being generous. A little bit better as you got closer to Oregon, but the North Cascades and particularly the Olympics really ran dry this year. Now, that was well forecast, well expected. We've got an El Nino, and where we have a famine here in terms of snow. Other areas were feasting, particularly the Sierra Nevada. So great news for the Golden State there in California. But the low snowpack on top of running quite dry this spring is cause for concern, particularly as we head toward the summer season. Things kind of parched up there in the high country, could have a lot of dry grasses and whatnot, and that could lead to additional forest fires as we head into the summer. For the National Weather Desk, I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell.
Last week in California, 500,000 salmon were released into a river with the hope of replenishing its fish population. Adelmi Ruiz talked to the California Department of Fish and Wildlife to find out more about the project.
The California Department of Fish and Wildlife, along with the Karuk and Yurok tribal leaders, released almost 100,000 yearling coho salmon on Tuesday, April 16th, and more than 400,000 Chinook salmon fry into the Klamath River on Wednesday, April 17th. Philip Williams, Yurok tribal council member, says this process has revived hope in his community.
All coming together to revive this river, it restores that hope.
According to the CDFW, this is the first major release of coho salmon into the river since the drawdown of the river's reservoirs as part of the historic dam removal.
These fish will outmigrate to the Pacific Ocean and spend 2 to 4 years out in the ocean and then return to the Klamath River to spawn. And these will be the first fish, from our hatchery at least, that will be returning to an undammed, free-flowing Klamath River.
The CDFW was able to launch a salmon hatchery late last year to raise salmon until they are the right age to be released into the river. Kenneth Brink, vice chairman of the Karuk tribe, says this experience means a lot to his community.
It's going to be a very, very, very healing experience to be able to see the salmon come back, to have our religion come back, and to be able to live as Karuk people, get your identity back.
In honor of Earth Day, a nonprofit is organizing with a nationwide cleanup. Emily Gracie sat down with the president of Keep America Beautiful to learn more about the Great American Cleanup.
Earth Day is such an important day that comes with a deep history of taking a moment to take action to sustain our communities and our environment, right? And to really focus on what that means in communities around the country.
I'm a child of the 80s, and, we picked up litter. That's what we did. We were worried about that, and we were worried about the ozone layer. So why in 2024 is litter still an issue, or is it still an issue?
Keep America Beautiful runs the National Litter Study. And what we know between our 2015 study and our 2020 study is that the amount of litter on the ground was reduced by almost 50%. That's great news. But the reality is there are still 50 billion pieces of litter on the ground. At the big scale, it seems unattainable. But if you break it down, it's pretty manageable, and you don't have to be alone in doing it. It's incredibly social. We have a program called flogging, which is picking up litter while jogging. Take a little string, athletic bag with you and put your litter in there, put recycling in there, and either take it home or drop it in an appropriate place on your jog. Couldn't be easier.
All right, so what else do you have? What other fun programs can we participate in?
We have a really remarkable program at Keep America Beautiful called Retreat. And Retreat is about recovering trees after natural disasters. After that natural disaster is over, people are left disconnected from their community. And our Retreat program recognizes that and invites the community to come back together with each other and replant trees and care for those trees as a way not only to reestablish that tree canopy that's maybe lost to a tornado or a hurricane or a severe storm, but also to reconnect with community members.
If you want to go more in depth with Jenny and find out how you can participate in the Great American Cleanup, check out this week's episode of our podcast, Off the Radar. You can find it anywhere you listen to podcasts. Now we want to introduce you to Mr. Trash Wheel, the robot that has been eating trash and cleaning the water in Baltimore's Inner Harbor for a decade. And not just for Earth Day. Meteorologist Amy Aronson gives us an up-close look at the iconic machine.
So Mr. Trash Wheel does not move around. It sits at the mouth of the river, and when it rains, all the trash that's on the streets, alleys, and parking lots gets washed down into the storm drains and the sewers and ends up down at Mr. Trash Wheel coming down Jones Falls River. And Mr. Trash Wheel's there to stop it. The booms funnel it to the rakes and conveyors. The rakes and conveyors pick it up and put it into a dumpster. And all the power from that comes from the water wheel, which is turned by the flow of the river and by solar panels, which charge batteries and power pumps and pump water up into the buckets of the wheel.
Trash Wheels like sun for its solar panels and to charge it, but they're in the biz of picking up trash. And for that, they need brain.
Optimum capture of trash and picking up trash, a light to moderate rain brings a nice flow, brings all that trash down.
And over the years, the Trash Wheel has collected hundreds and hundreds of tons of trash.
99% of the trash is the same stuff. It's bottles, plastics, candy wrappers, chip bags. But once in a while you get something interesting. We picked up a guitar. One time a python snake was found. It's, that's a land snake. It's not supposed to be in the water. And the first place it could get out of the water was on our trash wheel. And we rescued it and it was adopted.
And the Trash Wheel does more than just keep the harbor clean of trash.
Another big benefit of it is to inspire and educate people to understand that what they do on the land has an effect on the waterways, from the small streams to the big rivers to the harbor to the Chesapeake Bay and all the way out into the Atlantic Ocean. If their trash gets in the wrong place, it's going to have a negative impact for hundreds of years.
Time for a short break, but first we take in views of sheep frolicking on a pristine mountainside.
Well, a very good Monday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael. A few scattered showers across the plains today, but otherwise pretty quiet for most of us for the day today. That rain ramps up more heading into your day tomorrow, Tuesday, with some of that rain sliding down into the Great Lakes in the Ohio Valley. By the time we get to Wednesday, a little break in the action on Wednesday, with temperatures starting to warm up a little bit more across the plains. Be prepared for a chance for some thunderstorms as we head into later this week, and could see some strong storms as well later this week.
Good Monday morning. I'm meteorologist Joe DiCarlo. Look at our forecast across the region, and we're starting off on the cool side for late April, 40s and 50s this morning. As we head through the day, really comfortable. We'll rise into the 70s for most of us, low 70s across our northern areas. And as we head into your Tuesday, dropping back into the 50s, and another pretty nice day, mid 70s for most. We will watch for a marginal severe weather threat across portions of North Texas into southern Oklahoma for Tuesday afternoon.
Hi, everyone. I'm Theron Zahn. Look at the forecast for the western United States. High pressure still playing a big role in keeping things high and dry in parts of Nevada, also Colorado and Utah, and warmer temperatures expected for parts of Idaho and even Southern California. I got 65 for Los Angeles. That's actually a warm up, believe it or not. 67 in San Diego, but 99 in Phoenix, 95 for Las Vegas, 73 in Salt Lake City, and Denver hits 75. That's the scene from out here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
We have talked quite a bit about Earth Day today, but how and when did it get its start? Emily Gracie explains.
Back in 1970, there was no Clean Air Act, no Clean Water Act. It was totally legal for a factory to spew black clouds of toxic smoke into the air or dump tons of toxic waste into a nearby stream. So a U.S. Senator named Gaylord Nelson had this brilliant idea of organizing a National Day of Environmental Teach-In. That became the very first Earth Day. Over 20 million Americans came together to promote environmental protection and raise awareness about climate change. And it worked. Later that year, Congress authorized the creation of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Fast forward to today, Earth Day has become a global phenomenon, celebrated in over 190 countries, and mobilizing billions of people to take action for a more sustainable future. For the National Weather Desk, I'm meteorologist Emily Gracie.
If you're looking for more great... Thank you so much for looking in this morning. I'm glad you were able to join me. I'm meteorologist Steve Rudin from WJLA in Washington, D.C. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning. Good day.